It may take a second for it to like.
Yeah, probably.
I'll just cut whatever we do beforehand out, so it's okay.
Yeah,
Through the
there it
magic of
goes.
editing. There we go.
Yeah. So I have a whole bunch of new assets for the podcast. But when we
Sweet.
convert over to the Phoenix streams, I have new assets and stuff like that. So we'll download everything then.
Yeah, no, that sounds great.
Yeah.
I'm excited. It'll be good.
Yeah. All right. So we're live. How's everyone
Mm-hmm.
doing?
Good. Hanging in there.
Good. How about
Yeah.
you, Don?
I'm well. I'm getting ready to go on like a socially distant vacation, so it'll be nice to get out of town. It's
I feel
basically
like
a it's basically a staycation, but we're going somewhere and staying there instead. So I mean, it's still going to be like socially distancing, but
yeah, I
it'll be
feel like
nice.
everybody should go on one of those. I was invited to one this weekend. I don't know if I want to go though. There's just a lot that I need to do. So I kind of don't want to separate myself from everything. So I kind of want to stay. I kind of want to stay like close to home and take care of what I need to take care of instead of going anywhere. But at the same time, I feel as if I should, just disconnect from everything, just because I've been stranded at home for so long.
We
But
all have. Well, those of
yeah,
us who've been responsible have at least.
yeah,
Yeah, that's
I'm
true.
I'm pretty sure the three of us have. I think all three of us are pretty firm about the whole mask thing and quarantining and stuff like that. So
Yeah, definitely.
yeah,
People put up those scales where it says, "Are you a number one or number two through eight?" And number one's like, "I never leave the house. I haven't seen
yep,
anybody in months." All of that stuff, and
yep,
I sort of fall around at one or two.
yeah.
Same.
I'm definitely a one. The only
Yeah.
time I go out is if I get curbside pickup for my groceries. That's literally the only time I go out. The only other time I went out was when I went to get an inspection for my car and got an oil change, and that was literally it.
Yeah.
So I've never gone out after that.
I mean, I've had to go out. I've had to go out a few times, but it's always been wearing a mask, like trying to keep a distance from people, and.
Yeah,
And we have a guest, by the way.
yeah.
We haven't
You guys can
introduced.
tell.
We just jumped right into it.
Yeah, it's okay. It was just early banter.
The banter.
Yeah. Do you want to talk about yourself a little bit, or tell everybody about yourself?
Sure, sure.
We're very professional here.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. Yeah, my name's Sophie and I live in Northern Virginia. I'm a teacher here. I'm an art teacher. This is my first year teaching full time. I started at the tail end of last year. So I started sort of right before everything shut down and all the schools closed and everybody, sort of started quarantining and classes started uh I guess they started online even though there was no sort of there was no rules, nothing. It was kind of the wild west of teaching. So,
Right. So when you
yeah.
started, was it the beginning of the school year when you started, and then COVID hit? Because I don't really remember.
I started as a substitute teacher at the beginning of the school year
Mm,
because I still sort of had my feelers out trying to find a job. Electives are hard to get hired for just because there's only so many elective teachers per school. It's usually a lower number. I mean, think about it, there's one band teacher per school. So
right.
if you want to be a band teacher, you only want to teach high school. That's a really limited number of positions. And the same kind of goes for art, though there are a lot of times more than one art teacher at a school. And I really wanted to teach high school. I wasn't budging on that. So I sort of was just waiting around for something to come along. And so I started substitute teaching, which my advice to anybody who wants to teach, like substitute teach first. It's crazy, it's difficult, it's going to be insane. It's going to be nerve wracking, but when you start teaching, that's going to be easier in some ways than substitute teaching was. So I would start with that and then go into teaching from there. It's good experience to get. Um, so yeah, I started out as a substitute teacher, and then I got a position as a part time teacher. So I was only teaching two classes at a school. Um, And then the days that I wasn't teaching an actual art class, I was still substitute teaching. So I was going back and forth. And then that was in February, and then everything shut down in March.
Right. What got you into teaching?
So I was a display coordinator for anthropology for 7 years, which is just building their interior displays, building their window displays. A lot of people don't even realize that that's an actual job that you can have, but every store has a display coordinator, and we have a workshop in the back. We have power tools. We work with a lot of lumber, tons of different materials. So I did that straight out of college. And I was burning out on it. You don't get paid enough at all for what you do.
Yeah.
Deadlines are tight, and it's a high turnover position relatively. I'd say people kind of burn out after 2 years, and I was on year 7. So, it's kind of ridiculous that I was still there, and my friends were kind of dropping off like flies once the company did this huge internal restructuring. And they also restructured their displays. So display coordinators were doing 40 hours full time, never dealing with a customer display work. They decided every store that was a a D level store, which means you only make 2 million. You don't make more than 2 million a year. They decided every D-level store, their display coordinator was gonna go down to 20 hours of display work, and 20 hours you would have to be doing what, like, a sales associate does, which
Right.
was just nobody wants that. So, I was like, "I gotta get out of this, like, what am I gonna do? What could I enjoy doing?" And I had interns from colleges when I was a display coordinator, and I thought, you know what? I should be, like, teaching people about this stuff. That's, like, one of my favorite things is seeing my interns, teaching them how to use a power tool and having them be like, "Wow, I feel like such a badass. I can't believe I'm doing this." And I'm like, "Yeah, you're capable of anything you don't realize." Um, so I looked into something, an accelerated way to do it because I wasn't gonna go back to school for 4 years, and a lot of people don't realize this. There's a lot of people who want to teach and they feel like they have to go back to school for 4 years. There's something called a career switcher program. You can be doing anything in life. You could be an accountant, and let's say you wanna teach math. You can you can apply to a career switcher program. You have to pass, something called a praxis test, which is just this really, really difficult test in your subject area. You pass that, get together some other stuff, college transcripts, all this, and you can easily get into a career switcher program. And it only took a couple months of like night and weekend classes
Huh.
for me to end up with a provisional license, which allows me to teach.
So
So,
is it based off of your profession or your degree?
not based off your degree. Any degree you can have, any bachelor's degree is fine,
Right.
and it's not necessarily based off of your profession. I notice a lot of people, like, in government positions and stuff would go teach history, but it's not just based off that. You just have to pass that praxis test, and
Oh, I
that
see.
test will kick your ass. It's a tough test. I
I've
mean, I'm
heard,
telling you.
yeah.
Yeah. Like, when I was taking it, some of the questions I would get would be about, like, batik, or it would be questions about weaving, and then I would get an image of, like, an ancient Japanese architecture structure and have to know, like, what that was called. That would just
What?
be one question. Yeah, then the next question would be about the film industry. Like, it was
So
just all over the place.
so that exam's got questions from all over the place? Or
Yeah.
it
It's
okay, so it's
all art, though. It's all, like,
oh,
art
I see.
related. Yeah, so it'll be
I see.
photography, sculpture, all of that stuff. So if you were doing a math exam, like, it'll be crazy all over the place, but it'll all have to do with math at least.
Right, right. And that would be the career that you wanna switch to.
Yeah, so
Did you get
you
they
take
give
the
you the exam based off the career that you wanna switch to?
yeah, it's based on what you want, to be, like, qualified to teach.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. So, yeah, it's in the teaching lingo, it's like your endorsement is what it's called. So what you're endorsed to teach. I could go and take a praxis exam for history, and if I pass it, I can teach history.
Hmm.
So,
Now,
That's a nice.
to substitute, do you have to pass that exam to be a sub, or is that to be like a full on teacher?
to be a sub, you can be out of high school, straight out of high school, go to orientation, pass a background check, and at 18 years old or 19 years old, you're in there possibly covering for a high school art teacher.
Huh.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Okay.
Yeah.
I always thought for some reason I always thought like to be a substitute teacher you had to have like a master's degree or something, or is that to be an actual teacher?
That you don't have to
No.
have a master's to be a teacher. It can be tough to get a job without a master's degree if it's kind of a competitive period of time or depending on
Sure.
the class. It's really interesting. There really are certain classes that are more sought after and it's harder to find. So like for example, history teachers, it's hard to get a position teaching history. People love it. Math teachers, it's easier to get a position teaching math. It's just something
Right.
that's in demand. It just depends on demand.
And typically it's core classes that are in higher demand, you would say?
Not necessarily because I would say special education's in high demand. It's a
Right.
difficult job to do, and, ELL teachers is in high demand. So, they need a lot of ELL teachers, which is English language learners. So, the students who are coming in, English isn't their first language. They have a teacher who helps structure their assignments in a way that might be easier for them to understand.
Right. Okay. So
Yeah.
fast forward to now, being a teacher now during COVID. I mean, I know this is like a really vague question, but what's that like right now? How are you teaching?
It is like someone just lifting you up and, like, tossing you into the deep end of a pool, saying, "Tread. Tread
Right.
water." We might give you a life raft, I don't know.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Did they give you any did they give you any preparation? Did they give you any like
Um,
resources that you could use?
yeah, there's tons of resources floating around out there. We use a special site called Schoology, and you can join groups and courses in Schoology. A bunch of teachers can join it, and then you can share resources, and there's tons of that. Our county has tons of it. Um, our county has done so I work for Loudoun County. They've done an amazing job. Seriously, we've had so many trainings. Um, we've done so much, like, personal development workshops and things. Um, I mean, they're really trying to assist us in any way possible, and my principal is very much like, "Don't put a lot of pressure on yourself. This is uncharted territory. You guys need, self-care, self-care, self-care." He really encourages us on the weekends to, like, please don't do any work, which, of
Right.
course, I do, like, all weekend. Um, because for me, the stress for me is, like, I'm not gonna be able to relax and just, like, put stuff away if I'm worried that I'm not gonna be prepared. Like, once we start interacting with students and we get on a schedule, I'll feel fine, but it's that initial, like, wanting to start off prepared. But that's not true for every county. There are some states and there are some counties I've heard from parents in other places where they have said, like, there's no plan. There's no plan, we know nothing.
Right.
So, and especially, like, in Florida, they went back non-hybrid, um, and they were just like, "Kids don't have to wear masks. You can't make them. Uh, we're not going to, cut class sizes. We're not gonna have less students on buses. Like, we're just gonna go back full on." Um, and obviously, like, I think, like, 8 children have died, which is 8 too many, and then
Yeah.
hundreds and hundreds and hundreds uh, have gotten COVID, so
So with Loudoun County, they're all virtual, right? 100% virtual?
yep, we're starting off 100% virtual. As far as we know, it'll be for the first quarter. Um, My guess, which is just a guess, is that slowly they're gonna start bringing back, like, kindergartners first and then go on up, maybe not high schoolers, and I don't know how long that's gonna last for. It could be the whole year that high school is virtual, it could just be 1 quarter, I don't know.
Right.
You were saying
So
that some people don't know what's going on, like parent wise. I actually have a an adult that I'm seeing right now. Um, I'm a therapist, by the way. That sounded really weird when I worded that. So I have a client, right, and her like 2 young daughters. It's not in Virginia; it's in Maryland. Are about to go back to school, and she, yeah, has no information. They go back next week. She doesn't even know. Like she knows it's online, and that's the extent of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I feel like the frustration is probably felt from everyone, from teachers, students, and parents. Like anyone involved in the system is probably like, "What the hell?"
Oh, for sure. Yeah, and sort of when all of this started, the whole distance learning thing started in the spring, and schools got shut down, and it was craziness. You had all these parents that were like, "Wow, my kid's a real asshole. My kids are so difficult. Oh, like, trying to teach them at home is so crazy. Teachers are amazing. You guys should be
yeah,
getting paid more, blah, blah, blah." Now now, the a the now the attitude that I'm seeing a lot of is, you know, teachers need to be going back. They should be doing their jobs. I can't believe they're not in classrooms. Like, people are calling and reporting teachers that they see out on the streets and saying, if this teacher is out and about, or this teacher's out and they're not wearing a mask, then they could be in a classroom right now. So why are they teaching, virtually? Um, so that's really difficult too. I mean, being a teacher is just this constant wave of like love and hate from people all the time.
it's easy to criticize something when you're not actually doing it.
Oh, so easy. And there's so many factors that people don't get. I mean, there's things going on behind the scenes that they don't understand, and there's
Right.
assumptions that are made about why a school's choosing to be all online, and usually they don't really know the
Right.
truth.
So are you stabilized now? Like, you have everything? Is everything just kind of smooth sailing right now with your virtual classes, or what's going
Um,
on?
yeah, I mean, there's a lot of stress because we still need to hand out supplies to every student. Like, I have 100 Art 1 students, so that's 100 supplies that have to be passed out to all of those kids. So we have to like go into the school, unbox everything, assembly line everything together. We have like a day to do it, and then have everything prepared for the kids to sort of swing by and get it, and then hope that everyone's able to get there. Um, in time and get all of the supplies that they need because, you know, students usually share supplies, and like with art and everything, you would normally come in, you'd sit 4 at a table, you'd have a big box of color pencils and all this stuff, and now we have to get individual items for every student. And even if we were hybrid, it would be the same because I think the state said that the requirements for, like, safety in schools now is that students can't share anything. So,
Right.
yeah.
You don't know where their nasty fingers were. So
Ex Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, for sure.
yeah,
I feel like as an art teacher, you're gonna have an extra challenge in teaching than like a math teacher or a history or like an English. Cause like I know when I was in high school, I took an art class, and I'm just trying to think how that would be accomplished online.
Oh, yeah. So, I feel like the roles are kind of reversed because I normally think of teaching art as being pretty fun. It's definitely not easy. I mean, teaching is not easy. Oh my god, teaching is tough. It is a lot of work. It is a lot of after hours and before hours, and everything in between. But you know, core subject teachers not used to have to. They still do. They have to stick to a standard, the standards of learning, and they have to get students to pass those, and they have all that pressure. What are your test scores like? We're judging you how well you're doing by how many students are passing these like standardized tests. And that's got to be really difficult. It's got to be difficult to teach to the standards versus like what you might be more passionate about or what you think is really important for them to focus on. And now, they still have that, but we're also trying to teach something that's almost all hands on, and we have to do it, you know, through a computer screen.
Right.
So that's really tough. The toughest thing, and I think the thing that most teachers are worried about is just building relationships with their students because that's so important. The students who have an attitude or a chip on their shoulder are gonna be difficult. Um, you can work through that and get past that if you can build a good relationship with them, and it's just it's gonna be really tough when you're talking to 20 kids over, a webcam at the same time.
I can relate a little bit to the plight that you're going through because I hate doing therapy online. It's not the same. It's not like it's harder to build that rapport and relationship. I'm very much like I like to have a whiteboard. So during my sessions, I'm like writing out their thoughts and like we're like kind of like Socratic method challenging it like live. You can't exactly do that so easily.
Yeah.
It's hard to build that relationship. It feels less personable because I mean you're talking through a screen through a
Right.
webcam as opposed to being like in person. I feel like you also miss out on a lot of like warning signs, and I know teachers are a big like first responders, so to speak, of like
Mhm.
if kids are having trouble at the home, teachers are one of the first people that can spot this and witness this. And I feel like that's going to be harder to pick up on. Like for me, I'm going to be missing out if a client comes in reeking of alcohol. I would have no way to know. Or like, so I imagine there's a lot, like our struggles are probably kind of similar switching over
Oh,
to this
yeah.
online platform. I don't know about
Yeah.
you, but I hate it. I can't wait to, obviously I want to wait till it's safe to do so, but like I don't like doing it this way.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I hate it. I don't think any teacher is enjoying this right now. I mean, I haven't talked to any teacher that is, though I know many teachers are happy to be doing it because of just being safe. It's not worth the risk, no matter how difficult it is. And there's this attitude that, kids are gonna fall behind, kids are gonna, um, they're gonna have to catch up and all this stuff, but that's that's pressure that we're just putting on them, that they have to reach a certain point at a certain time. Like, that's constructed. That's just a construct. Like, we we need to let go of some of that attitude of, like, kids need to reach this certain point at this certain time, and if they don't, then it's all hell's gonna break loose because 'cause they're gonna fall behind. I mean, honestly, I'm an educator. I think education is huge. It's really, really important, but at the same time, I don't think it's the end of the world if kids don't learn like, a lot for a quarter or a semester, even a year, you know? It's just safety's first. Think their health is the most important.
So there's a lot of pressure on you and the kids, pretty much. So it's not really a benefit for anybody. And parents also have to plan for that for their kids to be home if they're young enough or they have any kind of struggles that need supervision. Then I mean that creates a lot of pressure on the parents too. What kind of stresses do you have? I mean, how has all this affected you?
I mean, it's tough. I mean, I already have to deal with, being cooped up, being stressed out, being stuck at home, routine ruined. I mean, I'm a very routine kind of person, and all that got thrown out the window. And then here I am teaching for the first time. Everything I just learned about teaching, you know, was about what to do in a classroom, not I didn't go through a whole program to learn how to communicate over webcam to a group of teenagers. So that's really difficult too. And it's uncharted territory for all of the, tenured teachers. that I'm working with, like, all of them are learning new things too. So even some stuff they have to ask me, and it's not a job, first official career, first year experience that I would have predicted. So that's
Especially something like art, you know, like when it comes to art, you have to actually show them how to do certain things, and you can't do that over a webcam. Like, what are you gonna do? Like,
Well,
you know, you
can
draw
you?
it on the, yeah. I
yeah,
don't know, can
I'm
you?
I don't know.
Elgato software.
But like, I mean, the type of art that you teach, you're talking about like pencil and colored pencils and paintbrushes and stuff, right?
Yeah, and I mean, you can show that. I mean, think about all of the streamers and YouTubers out there teaching people how to draw, how to paint, how to do all
Right.
these incredible things, and they're just doing it over the computer. I mean, there's students who've way surpassed their teachers from just going on their own and
Yeah.
like learning this stuff online. But I would say that the most frustrating thing is the lack of supplies, because most students they're not gonna have what we have at school, and when you're at school, you have all these supplies and materials that you can give to them that they can use. They can experiment with different things. Now we're really limited. We're making these supply packs for them. It's the bare minimum. It's like what we can afford. And we have to base all of our projects over those few supplies that they have. So we can't do any of that fun, crazy, sort of off the wall, interesting things that at least I wanted to do with my students. So that's really frustrating. That's really limiting. Um, and you don't get to have those fun conversations where a student has an idea and you're like, you know what? You could do something like that, but have you ever used this material before? And they're like, no, what is that? And you get to show them something new and they get to do something unique and outside of the box. It's just not going to be like that.
Right. Yeah,
So,
because I remember when I took art, my art teachers, I had more than one, took art a couple of years, and they were very hands-on, and they were very like interact with the students,
yeah.
and they spent some time, and I just feel like it's even harder for you to do your job if you don't have that kind of interaction. Like
Hmm.
I don't really quite remember my high school days, but I do remember having, you know, some one-on-one time with my art teacher and her teaching me how to do certain techniques and certain things, and it's something that I have to like be up close and watch her do. I
Hmm.
just feel like doing it through webcam would be damn near impossible. I mean, of course you can just show them how you hold the paintbrush or whatever and do the technique. But it's just not the same. Like you can't pinpoint exactly like what it is that you're doing wrong or what it is I can help you with. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, I would say what will be difficult is getting giving them that, like, one-on-one attention because, you circulate the room a lot, you go over, you see one kid struggling, or you have an idea for them, and you say, "Hey, like, you could try doing this or that," and demonstrating it for them, and you're just not gonna be able to do stuff like that. I mean, there's things in Google Meet and others, digital meeting uh, software where you can do like breakout rooms and they can go into like little groups and then you can pop into each little group and sort of have a more intimate conversation with each student. But yeah, I mean nothing's going to compare
Right.
to what it is in person. It's definitely not. So,
Right. I guess what I'm trying to say is you have a lot more challenges than just pairing your work and
yeah.
planning everything and just trying to teach your students. I mean, there's so many little intricate details that you're missing, and
Mhm.
a lot of little things that you're missing that help you do your job efficiently. And on top of that, now they're expecting students to pass at a certain rate, and they're expecting you to teach these students who all need to pass at a certain rate, and that just
Mhm.
creates so much more pressure on you as a teacher.
Yeah, it and it's tough and there's sort of misconception that like it's going to be so easy for us. The teachers are
Right.
sitting at home.
No.
I remember sitting in on a a board of supervisors like meeting or a school board meeting, and they had public comments. Oh, public comments. And somebody called in, and this was back when we shut down the schools and started distance learning in the spring. And somebody had called and they were like, you need to keep the best and furlough the rest. Get rid of those teachers. We need to be saving money right now in the county. We need to get rid of all the teachers that are just dead weight. Um, this is all digital, so teachers should be teaching more classes. There should just be like one science teacher for the department, all this stuff, blah, 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 going on, which was just, I mean, my jaw dropped to the floor because it was insane. I mean, this person was seriously passionate about that, thought that we were just a huge waste of money, that what we were doing was just so easy. And here I am really in the thick of it, and it is so difficult. I'm so swamped with work, and just having 100 kids is a ton to keep track of. I mean, that's 100 grades times however many projects that you're giving out.
Yeah.
Um, and a million other things. I mean, keeping track of everything, keeping track of each student's IEP and 504s and all of that kind of stuff, which is
We're familiar with
crazy.
those.
Yeah. Yeah, just so much stuff. And then make sure you're meeting their individual needs and emotionally, that they're in a good place and all of this stuff. And then the work on top of that, and then actually teaching them something. So it's just crazy, but so many people have that attitude.
What can they do to change their attitude? I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Oh no, I
You
was
might
just
have you might have something more relevant than me. So
no, it's fine. I was just gonna say, speaking of IEPs and 504s, that's a whole other can of worms. Like, how are the
Yep.
schools gonna be able to actually meet? So, for anyone watching who doesn't know, so an IEP, individualized education plan,
Mhm.
basically, yeah, and it's for individuals that need certain accommodations. So, like kids, on the spectrum would have one. Anyone who has learning disabilities or emotional disabilities would get an
Mhm.
IEP or a 504. I'm not going to explain the difference, but basically an IEP is like, bam, a 504. They have accommodations, but it's not quite intense enough to meet an IEP. Is that accurate?
Yeah, I mean, more or less, I don't get a lot of 504s. I mean, it's mostly IEP, and that's intellectual disability. So that's like a special education student, or you can get someone who just has a learning disability. So that would be, I mean, that's just like dyslexia, or you could have a ADHD, or it could be a student who just is a slow reader and they need 50% more time on an assignment, or it could be a student who needs you to read something out loud to them.
Yeah, and I think
So,
504 may be more for like the emotional and behavioral concerns, because I've had a lot of clients with 504s, and they may even
mhm.
have accommodations like a flash pass where they can get up and leave class for a few minutes and come back. Like, it's just, I feel like making sure, like, I know I have a friend who has a child with a speech impediment, and this is not Virginia, it's a Tennessee, and like, it's Tennessee. But anyway, they're actually trying to make the kid come in person for their speech therapy and occupational therapy, which is also causing a problem too. Like, it's just,
Yeah.
anyone who says that educators don't have their hands full in an uphill battle are crazy. Well, I shouldn't say
Yeah.
crazy. That's very stigmatizing. They're ignorant
Yeah.
on the matter, and they clearly
Mhm.
don't know what they're talking about. I guess
Yeah,
is a
Yeah.
better way to
there's
word
a
it.
lot more to it. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
There's a lot more to it. I mean, being a teacher isn't just about teaching. There's so much more.
Mhm.
And imagine if
So
you were like in a less affluent county, because like luckily you're in one of
Oh,
the
yeah.
top like three counties in the country as far as like wealth
yeah,
and being affluent.
number
I
Mhm.
one,
mean, oh, okay, number one, yeah. So like,
live guys
imagine
number
if you
one.
were in like Southwest Virginia, where
Yep.
like there's like rampant poverty, and like I just can't imagine what, yeah, you all have to go through. Period. But
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. It's difficult in so many ways, but I also feel really lucky about the county that I am. Not just because it's a wealthy county, but because I really do honestly feel like our superintendent and our school board have done a really good job of trying to, you know, I mean, they're just trying their best and really looking out for students and really looking out for teachers. Um, and parents too. I actually teach at a Title I school. I think it might be the only Title I school in the county. Which a Title I just means that a certain percentage of your students are on free and reduced lunch. So we have our student population is so different from most of the rest of the county, and a lot of our students are live in poverty. So I have a lot of homeless students. So we get special funding and stuff too because we have to accommodate
Okay.
so many more things. Like you have to think about the fact that like some of our students don't have pencils, like things like that. That most people assume, well, everyone has a pencil and a piece of paper. No, not everyone has a pencil and a piece of paper. A lot of them don't know where their next meal's coming from, so we have, like, amazing meal systems set up, where the kids can go to the closest school to them, and they can pick up, like, pre-made lunches, and that is year-round for us, so
So they may not have the equipment needed, like a pencil, paper. They may not have access to food, and we expect them all to have high speed internet and webcams to be able to like. I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, and, another reason why, very lucky, very blessed, whatever, is that all of our students are one-to-one with Chromebooks.
oh
So the
wow,
county provides them each student has their own Chromebook, and they can put stickers on them, everything, personalize your own Chromebook, and then also our county has provided hotspots, Wi-Fi hotspots to everyone who doesn't have one. And then our school raised a bunch of money so that we could buy like 700 some stylus pens to give out to our students because
Mm.
their Chromebooks are a touch screen and they'll be able to use stylus pens to help them,
Oh.
um, do math problems or do art or whatever on their Chromebooks. So
Do they have to give them back by the end of the year?
they keep their Chromebooks till they graduate, I believe.
Oh,
So they
I
get
feel
to keep
bad.
them through the summer and everything.
I feel bad for the person who's gonna have to scrape all those stickers off at the end of when they
I
graduate.
know, I
Can
know,
you
and
imagine
and
being
lighter
hired
I'm
for
fluid.
that?
Just use
Like,
lighter
fuck
fluid.
this.
Lighter
Huh?
fluid.
yeah.
Just use lighter fluid. It gets rid of
Yeah,
any
but
sticky.
still, there's thousands of students. There's thousands of Chromebooks. You got to sit there and scrape off. If they put like all this, sticker shit all over it, but
I think that they turn them back in. I would imagine. I'm not 100% sure. I haven't really
right.
thought about that. I assume they had to turn them in at the end of the year every year, but they just keep them until at least they graduate. And I'm probably all the IT people's worst nightmare because totally give out those stickers because I'm just like, oh,
Oh
you
yeah.
did good. Psh, 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 here's like a huge sticker. You can put this on your Chromebook. But they do peel off really easily, the ones I buy. So
Well, it's very nice of you.
That's thoughtful. Yeah, I was
yes.
gonna say
Very
that's
thoughtful.
very thoughtful.
I mean, realistically, it would make sense to make the students peel them off. You know what I mean? Like before you hand in your Chromebook, just clean it off and
Well,
wipe
let's
it
be
down and stuff
That's
like that.
that's
know?
probably what they ask them to do, I'm sure.
Yeah.
I mean,
But
let's
do they
be
actually
hon-
do it?
I don't know. I don't know.
Let's be honest though.
Like
Like,
that.
if you come in as a freshman and you get a Chromebook, by the time you graduate, that thing's obsolete anyway. Like,
Yeah,
you're not
I
giving
was
that
thinking
to
that,
another
yeah.
student anyway. Let's be
Yeah.
honest about that. But
Right.
Yeah.
Probably didn't tell them to keep it.
Yeah. I mean, we probably just have new Chromebooks coming in, so consistently that it doesn't matter.
Yeah. So what are you doing to self-care?
well, she told us earlier she ain't doing shit, man. She's working on weekends. She's
So-
busting,
Yeah.
she's
so let me ask
busting
you
her
again,
ass.
So let me ask you again, what are you going to do for self-care? What are you going to do to take care of your mental health?
I will say that the other day, it was just a really tough, super stressful day. And I was starting to feel like I was just kind of starting to feel like I was drowning. my list of things to do was just piling up and piling up,
Mhm.
and I felt like every conversation I was having with someone was something else added onto my plate.
Right.
And, you know my boyfriend, Logan, when he gets home around 4 o'clock, and I just kinda decided, like, this is too much. When he gets home, I am going to stop in the middle of everything, and I'm not gonna get back on my computer for school for school-related things for the rest of the evening.
Right.
And, I mean, that was just I had to do that, you know? Like, I was freaking out, and I was kind of getting nowhere because it was just so much to do, and it was great. I mean, I did. I put it away, and I don't know what we did, watched Cobra Kai or, played Crystal
There you go.
Chronicles or something, so
Hey, that's something.
yeah.
So I'll tell you a little bit about my time when I first started being a counselor. So I was super motivated. I was like a pit bull when I first started to do counseling, and I convinced myself that I had nerves of steel. And so when I first started counseling, and this was at a eating disorder facility for women,
Mhm.
and I went in there with a mindset like, I know this job's going to be difficult, but nothing's going to break me. And for the first 3 months, that's what I did. I was hyper vigilant, and I was super aware of everything that I was doing. I was learning super fast. I was taking notes. I was doing everything that I needed to do. And it ended up the entire staff that I've worked with all loved me. And all the clients who came in loved me because I was so dedicated to what I did. I
Mhm.
covered everybody's shifts, regardless of what time it was. I've done overnight shifts there. And by the time about 4 months in, I got the job as a program manager slash facility manager at one of our other locations, and this one is strictly, and that's when I met Don. And this was at a kind of more of a generalized behavioral. Would you sum that up correctly?
Yeah, I mean, so it's like an adolescent facility for. Yeah, I mean, like
Mood
general.
disorders, right? Generalized mood
Yeah, we
disorders.
had everything from like depression, anxiety, substance
Yeah,
use, oppositional defiant. I mean, it was more of like any
Mhm.
sort of acute psychiatric disorder, they could go there.
yeah. But yeah. Fast forward almost 2 years later, until earlier this year, I had a breakdown.
Mhm.
Like I was literally at the bottom of this pit that I dug, and this was me at like my most strong-willed moment of my life, the most strong-willed moment. And I knew that, the more I did this, like the more I was going to learn, and the more I learned means my job is going to be easier. It didn't work out that way.
Mhm.
And so the moral of the story is, regardless of how tough you think you are, how motivated you think you are, eventually your mental health is going to get the best of you. And so that's why I encourage all my friends, regardless of what they're doing in their lives, regardless of what it is that they do for a living, make sure you take time for yourself. Make sure you take care of yourself. Do something you enjoy as often as you can. Like right now, I think you guys both, I mean, Don obviously knows, and I'm pretty sure Sophie, you know already, but I've been working on a nonprofit on the side that has to do with Twitch. And I've been working, after my 40-hour a week job, after
Yeah.
work, I am working on my nonprofit and I'm creating all this other stuff. And I'm taking breaks now. Like that's something that I made myself do. And it's something that I'm aware of now is, constantly take breaks, do something that you enjoy, and make sure, I take care of myself. And so that's what I've been doing, and things have been great. But yeah, I mean, if I was to give one piece of advice to anybody is please look after yourself. Take care of yourself. Because no one else is going to. It's just gonna be you, you know. So that's why when I ask you what will you do for self-care, like I mean it.
Yeah,
what are
I
you
mean,
gonna do?
We need
yeah,
answers.
Yeah.
yeah, it's a tough balance. I mean, I know I know where I'm at. I'm aware of it. I mean, I'm not It's not that I don't know that I'm not, like, stressed and taking on a lot, and I can step outside of myself and realize, like, "Oh, you're a new teacher, you're overdoing it, you're doing all this stuff because you're new."
Right.
You feel like you have to do so much more, you feel like everything has to be perfect and great. I was at my old job for 7 years. I remember what my first few years were like. I was so gung ho. I was such a go-getter. I did a 14-hour shift once, um, because we were trying to meet a deadline so that my boss would get a promotion, because someone important was coming, and I had to show up all dressed up, the next morning super early, when they were there. I had a migraine, I get chronic migraines, and I put on a big smile, was charming the whole time they were there, and then as soon as they left, I went to the bathroom and I threw up because I get super physically ill, when I have my migraines. It's just a symptom of it, unfortunately. So, I was like said to my boss, so, 14 hours last night, came in at 6 a.m. today. Um, I need to go home now." And she was like, "Oh my gosh, yes, of course. Go home, go home." Um, so I know what it's like to burn out in something. And I saw that with all of the young girls who started taking the job that I had. And I was training them and stuff, and I saw how much effort they were putting in, and I had gotten a little jaded at that point because 'cause I'm like, "You're never gonna make very much money doing this, and it is what it is." Like, you're not curing cancer here. You can chill out a little bit. Um, and I saw a lot of my early self in that job there, and I see that with myself here. But at the same time, I do need a little bit of stress to motivate me. Um, it's I do need to find a balance, but a little bit of stress and a little bit of being overworked helps me be less depressed.
Hmm. So
I
Hmm.
I
do you draw
Yeah.
like fulfillment from your work? Like, is that like an area
Oh,
that you?
so much fulfillment. Like, my dad, I have a lot of my dad, I have a lot of his personality, not quite to his extreme because I can chill out and watch TV and binge a show, and shut down for a while, but my dad has to be doing something constantly. He gets up at 5 in the morning. He chooses to work outside on projects and stuff all day long. And he's retired, and he does this all day long until he comes in and goes to bed at 9 p.m. And he can watch a sports game maybe, but he can hardly he could never watch like more than 2 episodes maybe of a TV show. He has to be doing something constantly, and I'm not quite that bad, but if I go too long without doing something, I can get in a really bad funk and feel depressed, like really depressed. And so there's just this weird, like, I'm stressed, but I'm not depressed right now. So, how do you find a place where you're not super stressed out and but then you're not depressed because you're not doing anything either. And also feeling the shame of being stressed. I mean, you do feel a bit of a shame when everyone's constantly like, "You need to chill out, you need to take care of yourself." I mean, that's important. Like, I appreciate people saying that, but I do also feel like a certain shame to it, like, you need to be behaving like a certain way. Um, and, you know, it's like, I don't know. Sometimes it's not that black and white. And I don't know. I don't know what the perfect balance is. I think what I have done to for self-care is I have put in all of my classrooms to my students and for every other teacher to see, like, after 5 p.m., I'm not going to respond to you. Like, you can send me whatever. I'm not looking at emails. You can message me on Remind. I'm not going to open it. And I've said on weekends, I told my students, "You're not gonna get a response on the weekends, like, you'll get a response Monday morning, um, message me after 5, you'll get a response the next day, but that'll be it." Um, and I'm just gonna kind of let myself not be perfect with every project, and And I do think I'm pretty good at not pressuring myself for every student to be enthusiastic. Like, I know that that's unrealistic. I think that's one of the biggest problems is a lot of new teachers come in and they think kids are just gonna like do everything, and every kid's gonna be happy to do this, especially if you're doing what you think is a fun subject. It's just not true. So yeah, I just don't put that pressure on your I'm not gonna put that pressure on myself. I'm not gonna expect all of my lessons to go perfectly. I'm not gonna expect technology to work the way that I want it to.
Mhm.
Um, you know,
Where
that's
does
good.
that shame come from? Like that, like, because you described having like it almost sounds like it's like an internal like struggle you have between if you're not productive enough, there's like a shame involved with that versus like the need to
It's
care for yourself.
I don't think it's so in my last job there was a huge shame. It was like if you didn't work over um like your normal hours, if you called in sick, you just felt like everybody hated you because you called in sick. And there was that attitude.
Mm.
There was an attitude from upper management too of like, so and so can't come in, and even if it's a even if it's a super valid reason, it's like, oh, this is so annoying. This person's not coming in. And there was this constant push of everybody to prove how dedicated they were to everything. And like I said, probably the best thing that happened to me was getting jaded about the company, them, kind of, in my personal opinion, screwing a lot of people over because they got rid of a lot of positions, which demoted a lot of people. And, I just kind of became that person that's like, okay, well, I'm gonna do like what I need to do, but you're not gonna suck the life out of me anymore. Um,
So do you think that's a jaded view, or is that more of a realistic view?
I don't know. I mean, yeah, maybe it is more realistic. I mean, I guess it depends on your version of jaded. I feel like jaded is realistic too. So I don't know. Yeah, maybe it is a more realistic view. I mean, it depends. As long as you can find a balance between like not not blowing off your job, but not giving your whole self to something,
Right.
like that. So, I don't know, and I mean, some shame comes from too, like, me working hard and doing something that I love, and then people being like, "You're doing too much, like, you're too stressed out, like, you need to not do this or not do that," and it's like, yeah, I'm stressed, but, like, a lot of it's making me really, really happy. So
And that's an important thing. And I was actually talking to a client today about how like not all stress and anxiety is bad. Like for instance, like getting married can be stressful. That could be a very nice thing. Getting a new job can be stressful, but it could have great results and be a good thing in your life. So I think you have a point there.
yeah, I mean, I'm not stressed and depressed. I'm stressed and I'm really, really happy right now. Um, so it's just I think it's just I'm just overwhelmed with things. Um, because there's so much that needs to be done by a certain time. But I think once we get all these supplies out to students and we start having classes on a schedule, I'm not gonna feel like this anymore because I didn't feel like that when I was teaching. I didn't. Like, I didn't feel stressed out going in and teaching lessons to students. It's all of this it's all of this prep that's stressful. Um, it's the idea that you need to have all these things done. Um, and I'm just a big ideas person, so things pop into my head and I think this is a great idea. I really need to make a video about this for students to help them out. Um, yeah, so I don't know.
Yeah. But I mean, I take it you love teaching. You love what you're doing right now.
Oh yeah, I love it. I love everything about it. I love making like lessons and slide presentations for my students and thinking of quirky, fun things to put in. I mean, I just made a video showing them how to navigate our Schoology page, and it was so fun. I used Adobe After Effects, and I made this little intro that's like a chalkboard, and then it writes in chalk, you know, it writes in chalk navigating Schoology with Miss Fowler. And then it goes in, and I found a web program that took the vocals out of a song so that I could put just the audio in the background. And then at the very end, I have like Michael Scott dancing, and I just like, I love doing stuff like that. And I get to do that. I get to like make a boring thing a little bit more entertaining. And
Right.
that's what I love. And yes, and I super stress over it. And I'm getting all pissed off because Adobe After Effects is like not zooming in the right way, or I clicked something and screwed everything up and all this stuff. But I'm learning something, I'm making something, which feels really good. And I'm giving something to students that's going to help them in some
Yeah.
way. So I love that. But that's also stressful for me.
Right.
So, I love things that are stressful. So how do you how do you live like that? I don't know. I think the key maybe for me is finding a time to shut it all down and saying like, no, don't touch. Like you can't, stay out of there. And my boyfriend and I were talking about this. Is like, I put on jeans when I start my day doing work. And everyone jokes, "Oh, you can sit around your pajamas." I need to know that, like, being in my pajamas is, like, relaxing, stuff. I don't wanna associate it with working or being, at school or whatever.
That's actually a
So
really good idea.
yeah.
I'm wearing pajamas all the
Yeah, I'm
time.
wearing pajamas right now,
All
except
the
for my
time
shirt.
I wear pajamas.
I
mean,
work and I'm wearing pajamas.
I am, but we're having fun.
Yeah.
No, I'm saying like even in my session, like I may sometimes have like
Yeah.
a button-up shirt on the top, and I do the pajama on the bottom. But I'm also
Yeah.
much more laid back than you, it seems. Based on this interaction and me getting to know you, I'm much more laid back than
Oh, yeah, I'm not laid back. Oh my gosh. And the funny thing is, everyone who I've ever worked with is like, "You're just so calm. You have such a calming presence." One of my bosses used to always say we'd have these like intense deadlines, and I have a million things to do, and I'd always get things done on time. But she'd be like, "I'm worried about how calm you are about all of this." But I mean, I'm really good at putting that out there and then being stressed like when I need to be, okay, I gotta get this done. Like, let's just dive in and do this. But then also being like, we'll finish it. It's fine. I also have the attitude of like, everything's gonna get done. I don't think the whole world's gonna fall apart. But yeah, I'm gonna be a bit of a spaz, maybe a little bit while we get there, at least to myself. I might not project that to other people because I do like to make other people feel like not stressed. I don't know if that's a good thing or not. Is that internalizing my stress too much? I don't know.
I think as long as you maintain those boundaries like you spoke about, and you do give yourself some time to recharge your battery, which it sounds like you do, like you and your boyfriend binging a show or playing whatever that game was that you named.
Final Fantasy Crystal Chronicles.
There you go. Yeah, so I mean, I think you'll be okay. Some people like have that drive, and like, I mean, this whole time you were speaking, it's not identical, but my wife is very similar in a lot of ways. And I know she's watching this. I love you, but yeah. So like, and I have to like pull her away sometimes and be like, nope, you gotta like, So we've been playing Fall Guys. Has been our like.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
Even though that game is irritating as shit as well, but it's a fun irritating. But yeah.
Can't be worse than Overcooked.
So that's a game that someone recommended actually that my wife and I play together.
I have it too. Like if you ever want to play it, just hit me up.
It's really fun. You might get mad at each other, but it's fun.
Yeah. Well,
he's really cute though, so I can't really get mad at anybody. This is all really cute shit that happens in the game. So
I mean, our marriage survived Cupheads. I mean, if our marriage can survive Cupheads, I feel like we can survive.
Okay.
Overcooked.
Yeah. I love Overcooked. It's so fun. It does get a little stressful though when like things start catching fire and it's just all falling apart.
Some have like a million things that you have to do. So
yeah, but I do need to work on managing my stress more. I know that that's true. I need to. I think it's just shutting down everything and just saying like, you don't have to worry about this from like this hour to this hour.
Right.
And like, and the thing is, like, our principal, who's our boss, is totally cool with that. I mean, super supportive of self-care, really pushes it. So,
That's
Yeah.
cool.
yeah.
I'm not sure if this is the same thing, but I used to have a really, really bad temper. And it came to a point where when I realized it, and I was hurting people's feelings, and it was to a point where I started to like I was able to see it,
Mhm.
And I'm not sure if this is the same thing, but whenever I get angry now, which I don't really get angry anymore, but back when I was transitioning from, controlling my temper and stuff like that, stuff that I would do was I would take that anger, I would take that adrenaline and that motivation from anger, and I'd turn it into something more, I don't want to say positive, but something a little more tangible.
Mhm.
And so what I would do is that when I get angry, I always told myself, I'll show them, I'll show them. And so then I would go and I would do something. And I would do something that, like art. And
Mhm.
I think that's when I started to do like illustrations and stuff like that, or graphic design, or web design. I would just create websites for shits and giggles
Mhm.
and all sorts of stuff.
Yeah.
And that's how I'm not sure if it's the same thing. I'm not sure if like when it comes to your stress, if you're able to kind of tell yourself, even though I'm stressed, I'm able to turn that stress, and I get to look at the results of where the stress comes from. Does that make any sense? Like, even though I'm stressed, I love what I do, and the result from the stress equates to something that I'm able to come up with something. You know what I mean? I'm not sure if that
Mhm.
makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, I think that my stress some probably pushes me to do things more that I mean, I I don't wanna be so laid back that I'm just not doing stuff to the best of my ability either,
Right.
And I do think my stress does push me to do things, um, that are really great, but, like, I don't like doing something that doesn't, I don't know, in in the words of Marie Kondo, spark joy.
Hmm.
I don't wanna make a movie for my students if I don't think that it's awesome and fun. I don't wanna make an assignment if it doesn't look interesting to me. I don't wanna do a lesson plan if it's not colorful and put together in a way that, like, I I really like. I don't know. It's hard. It's a control thing. Like, I'm a huge control freak for sure.
Sure.
So, yeah, so I think it's an issue of, like, this has to be just how I want it, because if it's not, like, I'm gonna hate it.
Right. So then Phaedra wrote something interesting. For me, I guess the shame comes in via feeling weak for not working more than others. I always need to be better. Probably not the best character traits have, but it's effective. How can one talk oneself into self care with that in the back of their head? I think there's like a why are you I saw you giggling. Why are you giggling?
I that's my wife I was speaking of, about how when you were talking I saw parallels, and then that's the reason I
Oh,
was giggling, because I was like, yeah, there's some truth to that.
Yeah.
dude, I feel like there's a stigma with calling out
Calling out sick,
because
like when you're like, or
yeah,
like calling out of work.
because
Oh, yeah.
I'm not gonna lie to you, okay? When I was a lot younger, like in my teenage years, and I'm pretty sure you all have done it, you called out sick when you weren't actually sick.
Oh yeah, I've done that as an
Everybody's
adult.
fucking done it.
I've done that as an
You've done
adult,
that as
dude.
yeah,
Fuck
I've
yeah,
done
I
that as an
have.
adult too. I've done that as an adult.
Yeah.
I've called out when I just didn't feel like going to work.
Wow,
I
I mean,
I've never I the guilt would destroy me.
what?
Yeah. Mhm.
I've called out
so
before because of a game being released. I was like, all right, I need the
me
next
too.
48 hours to play this
Me
video
too.
game. I'm calling out of work.
I had a friend visit from out of town, and it was a Sunday night, and so I emailed my boss. I was like, "Hey, man, I don't know, I don't know what happened, but I'm really not feeling well. I won't be able to come in tomorrow." And he was always the kind of boss. He's like, "Okay, yeah, sure, I'll see you on Tuesday." So I I would totally abuse that shit, but I didn't do it like I can't really say abuse. I didn't really do it all the time. It was once in every blue moon I would call out, and
Yeah.
I caught plenty of my counselors who have called out, and I have caught them red-handed because someone else would tell me like, this person was not sick. I'm like, it's fine. It's like I get it. You know what I mean? So I think
Yeah, and if
there
you have
is
sick time, you shouldn't be upset about that either. If someone has sick time or they can call out,
Right.
As long as they're not doing it so consistently that it's screwing over everybody else. I do remember, maybe this is why I never call it sick. I do remember one time, it was like 10 years ago. It was some retail job. I was working part-time, and I was in Connecticut with my friends. We had gone for the weekend, and everybody wanted to stay an extra day, and I was the one holding everybody up because I had to be back at work. And so
Right.
I called in and said that I couldn't come in. I did partially tell the truth. I said, "I'm in Connecticut right now. My friend had brake problems, and so her dad was like, I gotta work on your car.' And so I said, my friend's got brake problems. We can't come back right now." My boss is a part-time retail job, not wasn't working at Chanel or anything. And
I mean, even if
they
it's Chanel, I mean, I don't think it's
Yeah.
really that
right,
big
right,
of a
right.
deal.
I'm just saying the most, like,
Right.
teenager retail job you could think of, that's what
Sure.
this
Okay.
was.
Right. Right. Right.
Um, and my boss was like, "You need to get a taxi or get on a bus or something and get here because, you need to come in for your shift, blah, 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 blah." She basically just didn't wanna work, or have to stay, um, because she, like, tried to do as little as possible at that job,
Mhm.
and that's what she was upset about, was actually having to do some work. But man, and I had never called in sick before. I had never missed a shift, and I had taken other people's shifts multiple times, and she made me feel so horrible for it. And then I never called out when I wasn't, like, violently ill or had, like, a horrible, horrible migraine.
I think that's where a lot of the that's where a lot of the stigma comes from, is because I don't want to say everybody has done it. I'm pretty sure there's plenty of people out there who haven't done it, but myself personally, I do feel a little bit guilty when I call out. But not now, because I work salary jobs and I've been doing that for the past, like, 14 years. So I don't feel
Mhm.
bad. I have paid time off and I can use those whenever I feel like using them. So as long as I have them and I can use them, I mean, no one can say anything to me, right?
Right,
But
yeah,
yeah,
exactly.
like, if I was to, if I was working a job where I didn't have that luxury of having paid time off and I called out, of course I'd feel a little guilty about it. So
So chat was, asking as far as like with that in the back of your mind, always needing to feel like you have to be better than others, you have to be the best you can be. How do you
right.
talk yourself then into self care? And then on a side note, is there a correlation between the fact that Dunphasia and chat and you, Sophia, both kind of share some of these similar kind of traits? The fact that you're both women, do you think that plays any sort of role in that like shame and that feeling of needing to like
Oh,
work
I mean, I
yourself to
think
death?
I think there's just, like, a huge pressure on women in general to do everything. Like, you have to be a mother, you have to be a good, significant other, you should be working, you should be contributing equally to your household. Um, there's also, like, women still statistically, do a lot more at home than men do, so there's, all of the responsibilities around the house and everything that sort of still falls on women majority of the time, and then that just carries into work, trying to take on everything and anybody, not letting anybody see, like, any weakness or that you can't handle, like, everything that you're trying to take on. Yeah, for sure. I mean, I don't know. I think yeah, I think it's just a lot of responsibilities and expectation. Not that there aren't a lot of expectations on men, like, there certainly are, but there's so many roles I feel like women, have to juggle. And constantly just trying to prove yourself that, like, you're a good mother and you're a good spouse and you're a good employee or a good boss or whatever. You're the best of all of those things.
I
And
was
it and
about to ask, do you feel like you have to prove yourself at your job? Like as you're new, because you said like this is like your first year. Do you ever have that feeling like I have to prove my worth here, that I deserve to be here?
No, I actually don't. I used to at my old job, but like I don't really feel like that. I nailed my interview job and they were super excited about having me come on because I had like a lot of really great ideas. And when we started distance learning, I was just like kind of killing it with my assignments. And they were like, "Can we use like your lessons and stuff as an example, like for the faculty?" And so I just started like shedding all of these major doubts that I had. Um, and I still have a little bit of doubts with building relationships with students. I'm super nervous about that. I haven't had a chance to really do that, but I know when I was a sub, I was at the same school every day and like nothing makes you feel more like $1,000,000 than that student that's going down the hallway and they're like, "Miss Fowler, hey, Miss Fowler, are you subbing my class today?" Um,
Oh,
that makes you feel so good.
yeah.
It's just like I know there's gonna be more of that, and I just really haven't had a chance. So you have to think about it. When I came in part-time. They split up 2 overflowing classes. They split them in half and gave me half of those students. So those kids probably felt more like I was a substitute than I really was like their teacher. Um, because in the middle of the year, they have a new teacher suddenly. So I'm really looking forward to feeling, like, legitimate, to feeling official, to feeling like I belong, and for me, that's building a relationship with your students where, like, they're your students and you're their teacher. And I think once I hit that point, like, I'll feel really good. I'll feel like more like an official teacher. I mean, I had a student that emailed me it was my first email, um, at least for this I had a student, I did have a student last semester who was about to fail and they emailed me and like, what can I do? But that didn't count. I had a student who, my first official student who emailed me this year, and it really just made me feel so good. I was like, oh, someone is emailing me because I am their teacher and they want to tell me something. That made me feel really great. So, yeah, I don't know. I mean, I guess I hadn't really thought about it, but like, no, I don't feel like I have to prove myself. Like, I feel pretty good.
But it sounds like the reason, and this was going to be the suggestion I was going to give the chat, and it sounds like you kind of highlighted this, which is a great coincidence. It sounds like what you do is you acknowledge when you get that feedback, you like take that to heart and acknowledge like the things you're doing well at work. Like you did great on this presentation or whatever, and then they wanted to use what you came up with to show other teachers. I think that's what you were
Mhm.
saying.
Yeah.
Feedback from your students being like, "Oh shit, it's you! Hey!" Things like
Mhm.
that. So it sounds, and that's what I was going to suggest is like really just when there's someone you trust, whether it's a boss or like a colleague, if you like value their opinion and they give you that positive feedback, actually accept it as truth. And when you start to have those doubts of you belonging, pull that out of your pocket and be like, "No, remember, I am worthy because so and so said I'm doing a great job on this and that, and they would have no reason to lie to me." Things like that.
Mhm.
Yeah.
For me, it was
Totally.
all the letters, all the letters the kids wrote to me.
Oh, that's
I have a,
amazing.
I have a folder and it's filled with like letters and notes and stuff like that for when they discharge, and they would
Mhm.
give us like notes and stuff like that.
I've kept some too. Yeah.
Yeah, I have a folder full of them. I love it. I still need to make like a little bird cage or something and just put them all up.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I use because I had them all stuck on the little thumbtack board that I had in front of my computer in,
Mhm.
in the office. And whenever I feel down, I would look up. I would just read some of those letters, and it made me feel better. If I
And
ever
you
had
need
any
those
doubt.
sometimes with the work we did.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, especially when you have some clients that'll come in and be like, "Fuck you, Donald," and like just walk out. Like like I literally had a client that would come in
yeah.
my session and they would
Like, you're
open the
bad at your
door.
job. Yeah,
Yeah, they would
like
just
you work here. You're terrible.
yeah.
Oh, yeah, and I haven't I it hasn't all been great students for me, I mean, I've had some that, "Get out of my face, you need to go sit down," and me be like, "You use me?"
Yeah.
Which I'm very sassy, so, like, I can dish it right back, in the best way possible, but this is my attitude and my advice for being a teacher. You have that altercation with that student, don't stew on it. Don't be like, man, I hate that kid. That kid is such a little asshole. Nope.
Yeah.
I feel really upset. I let myself be really upset for, the rest of the day, not showing it outwardly, but I let myself be upset. And then I go back the next day and I treat that kid like they are my favorite student. Like they are the best student that I have. And I mean, that's just the attitude that you have to have. Like, no matter what students say to you, like, don't take it personally and just treat them all like they're your favorites.
Well, 9 times out of 10, I bet you their home life is utter hell. It's either
Oh,
it's
yeah.
either chaotic, it's not consistent. There's something going on if the kid's gonna come up to you and,
Yeah, there's always more there. There's more to it than that. No one ever freaks out on someone for no reason. I mean, there's something going on with them. So
Everybody's got something going on. That's
mhm.
like a mantra that I tell myself. Everybody's got their struggles. Everybody's got something.
Yeah.
So
So, chat, if you have any other questions, put them in. I see that time flies, man.
yeah.
Yeah, so if chat has any questions, put them in. Yeah. I appreciate you coming on and doing this, though. It's a perspective that I think we don't get enough, and I do think teachers are, underappreciated, and, it's great to have that perspective on here.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's nice to be on here and to like talk about it because I feel like I feel like so many people just don't understand, and especially right now when so many people are upset at everything that's going on, and a lot of their anger gets taken out on teachers right now. I mean, they certainly do for schools closing and for teachers wanting to just be safe and be healthy and work from home, and people just getting so mad at that and just not understanding like it's really stressful for us, and we don't want to be home either. Like that's not why we didn't take this job, because we were like, I'm going to get to work from home. That was never ever a thought in anyone's mind when they became a teacher. So, we're doing our best.
So I was going to ask you if a parent or a student comes across this podcast, what's something you would want to tell them?
Oh, geez, I don't know. Oh, that's a loaded question. If they just came across the podcast, I don't know. I would want to tell them, take art. Encourage your kids to take art.
Well,
I was expecting you to say something like, chill the fuck out, we're doing our best, or something like that. Like,
Oh no,
my
advertising
ass.
for the art department all the time.
yeah.
Wow.
Take art, it's the best. There's so many awesome careers that you don't realize exist. Creative careers that you can do and that you can take. If your kids love art, go easy on them. Like they can make a career out of it. They can make tons of money from it. They can make beautiful, wonderful contributions to the world. They do not have to be an engineer or a doctor or a lawyer or whatever. So that's what I want to say to the parents and to the kids.
Yeah, I was more thinking. I mean, that's all great,
That's
but I was
awesome,
thinking more. Yeah, I know it is awesome. But I was thinking more along the lines of like what you're going through. Like
Oh, yeah.
the job. What's something that you
Um,
want them to understand?
I want them to understand that, like, first and foremost, I want my students to be happy. I want them to be healthy. I want them to feel cared for. I want the parents to know that that's how I feel about their kids. I want to do everything I can for their kids, but I'm still I'm still a person. I'm still an individual. I still value my own life too. And the life of people who are at high health risk that I live with or see, sometimes like my parents. That's important to me, and that I don't not care about your kid just because I favor distance learning right now. I don't favor distance learning overall. I just favor it for the time being. And, it's not the end of the world if your kids don't reach certain constructed milestones right now. Like, they'll get there. It's fine. They're going to spend the rest of their lives learning. So,
And also, they're in high school. Give them some time, right?
it's high school. Like, the majority of their life is not going to be in school, and they're going to be learning
Chill the
all
fuck
kinds
out.
of important things.
Chill the
Yeah,
fuck out.
I do want to
Chill
say
the fuck
chill
out.
out. Everybody just calm down. Yeah. I don't know. I don't have anything too harsh to say, but
That is a jug of a water bottle, isn't it?
that's nice. That's impressive.
It's a big ass one.
Yeah, I try to crush one of those a day. I typically do. It's like 1.5.
How many times do you pee a
That's
day?
impressive.
If I'm not
We're getting
peeing,
personal here tonight. How many times
if
do
I'm
you
not
pee?
if I'm not pissing at least once an hour, I'm not drinking enough water. That's how I see it.
Okay.
Huh.
If I'm not pissing once an hour,
Wow.
like my pee should
That's a
be
lot of
like
pee.
a very light yellow, and that's typically what it is. If it's dark, if it's like yellow, I didn't drink enough water.
Hmm.
My complexion, like that's the first thing that I noticed.
Oh, really?
With my complexion, yeah, I know. I've talked about this tons, but the
Tell me
camera
about the
doesn't really do me
vanity
justice. But no, water's good for you. Drink water.
It is.
Yeah.
It is.
Hmm.
That's a big jug, though.
It is.
Yeah.
I like big jugs.
But don't
I
go
mean, big water
crazy
bottles.
and flush all the minerals out of your body either.
Oh yeah, no. So in here, I've got like this. I forgot what you call it, but it's like a filter that I put in the water bottle, and
Oh.
it gives it electrolytes. So I let it sit for 15 minutes, and then it releases a lot of minerals and stuff
Oh,
into the
wow.
water, and then I shake it up and I start drinking it
That's
throughout the day.
awesome.
Yeah,
Okay.
it lasts 3 months, and then I have to replace it. But yeah, it's great.
So
Wow.
Lucky in chat can apparently piss his name in concrete. You should take that show on the road, dude. I feel like you would have a second career in that. People would pay good money to see you do that, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, I would.
Yeah, that's true.
Totally pay.
Hmm. Water.
I'm drinking beer. I'm sorry. Yeah.
No, you're fine. Yeah, if we don't have any
got
other
water.
questions, then I mean, this was awesome. It was very enlightening to kind of get into the mind and shoes of a teacher, because I think they are one of the most underappreciated professions out there. Because I think a lot of people have the perception that's like, oh, they're, like you said, they're working from home or they're
Hmm.
teaching at home. All they gotta do is put together assignments and grade their papers. It's a lot
Yeah.
more to it than that. It's about building
Baby.
relationships. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it is a lot more. And there's some Scandinavian country, or maybe it's multiple countries, where they pay their teachers like what we pay doctors, like that level of salary. And you have to have a master's degree,
Mhm.
or multiple master's degrees, because it's so competitive to become a teacher. And when you tell people in that country that you're a teacher, they're like, "Oh, wow,
Yeah.
you're a teacher." Like
It's
it's a
like
big
brain
deal to
surgeon
them.
level, right?
Yeah, it is. It is. And it's just like we're not like that at here at all.
Well,
People think teachers get paid too much because we have summers off. So
I was gonna say, like, and I feel like our standing in the world, like our education at like standard, I feel like it's probably reflective of how we value and judge teachers.
oh
There's
yes.
probably a positive correlation there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, no doubt, no doubt.
Yeah. All right. Well, unless anyone has anything, I think this is a good place to probably to wrap up. Anyone have anything? Any last thoughts?
I
No.
don't.
Thanks for having me on.
Thank you so much for being here. We really do appreciate your time and the insight you gave us. It was awesome.
Yeah.
Sorry.
All right. So next week, I will not be here, but I think Color, you're still doing an episode.
I believe so.
Okay. So just check out our Twitter just to keep up on that. We'll post if it's not happening, but I'll be back the following week, and we actually have guests lined up. It seems like for the next like few episodes, so it should be worth coming out and watching.
Yep.
Okay, well,
Cool.
I guess then we will say good night, everyone.
Thanks, chat.
Thank you all. We'll see you next time.
Stop with these coughing fits. Jesus Christ.